Hello adventurers, my name is Vixis, and today I wanted to do a little quick short guide on the Rake in Enshrouded, a game that I've been playing recently as I have recently just gotten into survival games through Pal World. A few of my other friends who are like really big into these types of games, they've kind of like got me a little hooked on playing this style of like gameplay and such. I really wanted to kind of like share some of my knowledge about the Rake here in the game, as I have found it to be quite a fascinating tool that I kind of like started getting into a little bit later in the game. You don't really see like a lot of this in the early game unless like you are like really heavily into like the base building and like getting a lot of like materials that you find across the land. Really, it doesn't really open up until like the second area of the map, which you actually kind of figure out how the map is segmented off as you play the game through upgrading your flame altar. But which I recently just kind of like got access to, so I really wanted to share some of this information about the Rake. One of the big things is that the Rake is actually a little bugged at the moment in the game. So like if you actually go into like your crafting in the early game, especially like if you're over at a workbench, sometimes you may in your survival tab here just be missing the Rake, but eventually it kind of like comes across your mind a lot later, like once you get into like the farming, because if you don't see it the first time, you're probably gonna miss out on it for a little bit in the early game. And I didn't really know about it until I got the recipe for the scrappy Rake, because for some reason you still have access to one of the future recipes for the Rake instead of the basic one, which all you really got to do for this is just log out of the game, go make a new character, log back into the game, and check your recipes as you get back to your starting base, because you can actually just use a new character on the exact same world, and you should just have the Rake just kind of like sitting over here in your survival tab, and that is how you kind of like get around that. You just craft it, drop it in one of your chests, and then you just log out, log back in as a character that you really want to play on, that you have a lot of your progress on, all your stats, level ups, and armor and weapons, and then you just enjoy it from there. But one of the big things about the Rake is that it's basically just an editing tool for the environments, which it actually works in like two different ways. Because so like the way option 1 works is like when you place down a block with your construction hammer, which you only need one material to place down one block. It's very, very cheap, so you really only need to like mine one source of this, which you can actually get the dirt road block, the flower soil, the dirt, and the farm soil. You can get all of this from the same location over here to the north. Once you get to your first tower, you actually get to this area very early on in the game if you are just focused on doing the quests. And once you have your glider, you can just go over here to the harvest homestead, and you can find all of these soil types over here. But the way option 1 kind of like works with these blocks is that when you are at height, which is like if you're like down here on like the lower grounds, and then you're kind of like you go up like a little bit, this when you hover over this and you hold down whatever input that you use for mouse and key or controller, for me it is X, it will start overriding a lot of the terrain in the area. You can hold this down and just keep going for as long as you need to, for however much distance you want to do. So for option 1, you just kind of like go through here. Stone actually places down grass on top of it, but it gives like a stony, like it gives kind of like a stone underneath the grass. Like there's a little bit, you can like raise stone up and it automatically gives it grass. This right here is the flower soil, which is basically all it does is just places like grass, and it's actually very pleasing to look at. You can like use this for flower beds. You can kind of like do it like this, then mine it out or edit it however you want. And you basically just do this over the land. This is the dirt road block. This one's actually really good if you're in like the starter area and you really want to make it look like that you're making a road that like leads to your like new base. You can do this, but this is all done from height. When you move down to a lower height than what you are editing, and say like you still have like this selected here, then when you do it, it will actually kind of lower it down to that lower position, which is very useful for kind of like smoothing out areas and so on. And if you're on mouse and key, I believe the inputs for changing your angle. So like you can also do like an angle. Like for me, I just have to hold down right trigger and just kind of like angle it left and right to go up and down. You can actually kind of like go over here. You can smooth out based on the angle towards like whatever slope like you want to edit here. And you can kind of like you can like soften out slopes and stuff, which is actually pretty useful. But if you lower it back down, you will literally just start taking a chunk out of everything. You will just start chunking out of it. Look at that. That's actually really funny. You just literally just start eating away at it like Zahando from JoJo's. I love this tool so much just because of this. But yeah, that's kind of like the basics to the rake, and along with one of like the big major bugs. And so it's just like I said, it's like you just kind of like go down from a lower angle. You can just do this, or you can just like angle it like this, left and right. For mouse and key, it is the R key and your scroll wheel, and you can just kind of like do this. You can also do some similar things with the construction hammer with your terrain. But it's just not the same. I think this is useful for like small scale editing, but like if you really need to cover like a wide area, and it's like you got like a big slope, and like this, you got like the slab, you got like the big ramp, like you got all these like different options. But like, I mean, if you like really want to cover a wide area, like the rake is honestly like the best tool for this sort of thing. I really love this item. It's really fun to use. I like to call it the metal detector 3000 or the minesweeper 900. Like I just give it like really funny names because I just really enjoy this item. And if you do height, the rock also just kind of like change in appearance. But I've mostly used this to like lay out some farmland for a future base I'm about to build, which I'm actually probably about to start streaming this anyway. So if you really like this video, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you learned something about the rake, or if like you know other like cool utilities about the rake, like when you're like not at your base and you're like in the overworld, or like just feel free to comment those down below, and I will see you all next time, and bye bye.